Hello, Lynette. Thank you so much for coming along and chatting to us today. Could you tell us, please, what is the RyderSafe Foundation? And would you mind terribly telling listeners what motivated you to set up the foundation in the first place?
Yes. The RyderSafe Foundation is an organization I started after I lost my dog, Ryder, to dog collar strangulation on October 24th of 2018. And a friend of mine was sharing with me that I should tell his story. And when I first lost him to collar strangulation, I kept telling my friend, I said, no, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not telling anybody that he died. And I was in this massive space of denial. And my friend really encouraged me to share our story so that other people would be aware about the dangers that lurk with dog collars. So I took a deep breath 3 days later, and I wrote a Facebook post, and it went some minor viral really fast. I kept trying to keep in touch with the comments, and I went to bed to 10 comments, and the next morning there were like 3,000. And so I thought, wow, this is something that's important. And I had Googled, I didn't even know what it was called, how he died. And so as I Googled and researched, I found out there was a term called dog collar strangulation for that. And then I kept researching more, and I found a dog collar company that does breakaway collars. I heard her story about how she lost her dog, and then she had somebody else reach out to me who had lost a dog the same way. And they just really wrapped me up in support because I was so lost in that moment. And through that, I decided to start from our Facebook page. We had Labradorable BFFS, and I decided to add RyderSafe Foundation so that it would be a good way to honor my dog that I lost, educate other people. And then in the process of doing that, we're now shifting it to a nonprofit. And I'm really trying to grow this space of educating others about the dangers of dog collars, dog collar strangulation. Through that, I've also learned about the dangers of pet suffocation from chip bags through other people I've connected with. And then it just kind of grew, and I didn't want it to be just only about dog collar safety. I want it to be about dog pet safety.
Yeah.
Things that are dangerous for our pets, things that like dog bones, rope toys, the dog collars. And it's just kind of grown into this now, not just dog collar safety awareness, it's now dog collar safety awareness and safety education.
Do you think that people are reluctant to talk about their experiences when it happens to them? Because, you know, I've had comments from people, oh, I don't know anybody that's lost a dog that way, so, you know, therefore it doesn't happen. But it does, and it happens lots, doesn't it? So do you think that when people are in that situation, when they're dealing with that grief and all the stuff that goes with it, that they just don't want to talk about it, or they need to find a safe space to talk about it so that they're not judged? Is that a fair thing to say or not?
I think it's a fair thing. They did a statistic about 5 years ago, and it came out that approximately 26,000 dogs die yearly from dog collar strangulation.
And that's just in the US, yeah?
That's just in the US.
Yeah.
And when I'm out talking to different people about this, I find that 1 in 5 people I talk to have either lost a dog, know somebody that have lost a dog, or have almost lost a dog. And even with me getting my message out there as much as I am, I got a text message from someone that I know a couple days ago that their dog was playing with another dog and they got bit pretty good, and one of the dogs passed out, and they're really lucky that the dog survived. And many people just think that it won't happen to them, but you just don't know. And it's not a gamble that I'm willing to take anymore. So my dogs, when they're home alone, unattended, their collars are off, even though they wear a breakaway collar. And when they play with other dogs, they're naked because they just don't want to go through that again.
That's like the real danger situation, isn't it? Because we had it with Bella and Medina. And if I hadn't have known you and known about this, I probably would have lost Bella. They were playing, and they were wearing their collar fashion, and Medina decided that she wanted to rip off Bella's flower from her collar, and she got her teeth stuck actually around the collar. And the next thing we know, you know, they're straight into this within seconds, it's twisting and pulling and being quite hysterical. And then the collar, that his collar flung off and went, got thrown across the room, and everything was fine. But if we didn't know you, that wouldn't have happened. There's every likelihood that, we could have had a very injured dog, or at worst, a dead dog.
Well, and there's so many collars on the market also. I'm going to be doing collar videos today, and I'm going to be posting one of several different types of collars just to show the difference. And so when you have a chain collar, like a choke collar on a dog, on the tag it says that should never be left on a dog. And I see people that post their dog photos with the chain and they have the tags on it. If that type of collar or a metal prong collar were to get entangled with a dog, you have to have bolt cutters to get them undone. There's no other way to get those off. And then regular dog collars, the fabric is so tight that they have to have industrial strength scissors versus regular scissors to really cut it off quick. Then in that moment of chaos, each dog thinking the other one is trying to kill it.
Yep, you're going to get
really aggressive, even the nicest dog.
Yep.
And the owners, I've heard stories where the owners have been bit, horrific accidents to the owners, really sad. And the other thing that goes in it too is that you are afraid that somebody else is going to take your other dog away because you either failed as a dog parent or because they might think the dog is aggressive. And so you don't tell the story, or you're embarrassed. Or, and I hate to say it, but keyboard warriors on social media. I'm just a girl who lost a dog a horrible way, who wants to just make sure it doesn't happen to anybody else, because I love animals so much. And I have such a heart for that space of loss that I just don't want anybody to go through it. And so if our message can save one dog, that's awesome. But I know we've saved thousands of dogs by sharing our story. And it's a great legacy for him because he was such a special, amazing dog.
I know. Let's move on. I'm filling up. I don't want to talk about it. Not just yet.
And I do share his story too, because I do have a dog that survived. And so the other part of this is honoring her, because now I have a dog that battles with anxiety. I have a dog that has PTSD. And so trying to help her live her best life and make sure that her world is always safe and secure and happy. And so we rescued a dog a year ago who came with a broken leg, and it helped me heal because I'm taking care of a dog that's broken. Well, we were broken, and it helped her, and now they're best buds, and he really has become a service dog for her. Yeah. Because he helps her become more confident. So it's just part of our journey, even the hard parts.
Yeah, so even though Skyra had, obvious physical injuries because of that situation, she still is for sure suffering psychologically from the experience.
Absolutely. She's just different. We both are. I mean, I have the first 5 months that this happened, I have videos on the dogs now when I'm not home. And I actually had a camera in the house when the accident happened, but I never watched that video because I couldn't do anything about it. But I have cameras on the dogs when I'm not here. They're usually with me or with my mom. And I still have anxiety when I leave the house. So she absolutely does. And I can't even imagine how horrible it was for her in that moment. And I really don't go there because it just breaks my heart. But she had 2 edemas under her jaw. She's lucky to be alive. She's lucky she didn't break her jaw. She's got a little scar underneath her chin that will always be with her. And we call it her angel scar because I really believe with all my might that when Ryder passed, even though he passed, I just believe his spirit was with her, keeping her safe for us. I've heard stories where people have lost both dogs. So I'm just really thankful that he survived or that she survived, and heartbroken that he didn't. So I just try to look at the gift in the journey, and this is part of his journey and his mission, and it's a great legacy for him. And I think the hardest part is I've been there with every animal that I've had, even my horse in their last moments, and he didn't get that gift, and he was so special. So that's the hard part. But we just keep moving on, and I just keep moving forward. And if people don't want to listen to the message and they don't buy into it, and they're not on the collar safety bus, that's fine. But I'm super thankful that the Pet Safe collar is out there. The dog collar that he wore the day he died, both Skyra and Hudson had that company collar on from a brand. I'm not going to announce the brand, but that company came out with a breakaway collar, and they call it the Sky Ryder collar in memory of Ryder and in honor of Skyra, which is beautiful. And then you hopped on the bus, and you couldn't get collars in the UK, and so you came along and said, well, we're going to change that.
Awful. I felt really bad. You know, we're in the store, and I'm looking at all these collars. They've got no warnings on them, and I'm, you know, every time somebody buys them, I'm potentially involved in a transaction that could harm a dog. So I thought, right, we've got to do something about this.
Which I think is fabulous, because it's really hard to get dog collar companies and manufacturers on the bus. And so I keep contacting people. I keep contacting companies that make dog collars that have GPS on them. For instance, our dog collars, if people see my dogs on the Facebook page, they have a little box. It's not a shock collar. It's a GPS. So if anything happens, our dogs are able to be located, but they're on a breakaway collar. And then trying to get on those companies on the board to say, hey, the GPS is great. Could you make it a breakaway? Because now they're coming out with these GPS collars, which people will put on their dogs. And the dangers that lurk with them is when they're left home alone unattended, the tags can get caught in heater grates. They can get caught during play biting on fences, shrubs, branches, deck slats, furniture in the house. And one of the most dangerous things to do is putting a dog in a kennel or a crate, indoors or outdoors, and hopefully not outdoors because our dogs are a family, but putting them in that situation with a collar on. And then the other side of that too is who watches your dogs. When you go to a doggy daycare, what are their policies?
Yeah, exactly.
When you go to the vet, what are their policies? One of our friends took her dog to a doggy daycare. They have a website called the Naked, what is it? I can't think of it now.
Project?
The Naked Dog Project, yeah. Our friend over there, Robbie, and she took her dog to a daycare. They took her collar off, put a chain collar on her dog, and within 20 minutes, she got a call on her way back to work, and her dog died. So, like, asking those questions for a daycare or a dog groomer or a veterinarian or a dog sitter, because it's bigger than just in the home. It's who has your dog, who is taking care of your dog, and how are they keeping your dog safe? Are they putting the potato chip bags up out of the way, the food cereal bags out of the way? Are they taking the collars off? Are they not putting them in a kennel or crate? So those are, it's just a really big space. And so I would love to see, like they've done with cats, almost every collar on the market for cats,
for sure.
Breakaway, to see that for dogs. And then the other thing is people say, well, then the collar's going to come off my dog. Well, guess what? It probably just saved your dog's life. And I would rather gamble on that. My dogs are microchipped, but I would just rather gamble on that they're safe in the house and when they're playing, and just hope that they don't get out.
Well, there are things that you can do anyway. I mean, you know, certainly if you're going to be out with your dog and letting them off the lead, they need to have good recall anyway. Yes. So, you know, assuming that they have that good recall and they've left the collar in a bush somewhere, then you just make sure you've got a slip lead in your pocket. It's not difficult, is it? Call them back, slip lead on, go and find the collar. So, you know, it's all about education, isn't it? And I'm assuming too that lots of these places that we've talked about, like, you know, doggy daycare and dog walkers and so on, they probably aren't even aware of it. It's not something that people think about, is it? I certainly didn't.
I've had a vet tech who has reached out to me and said, I had no idea, and she had lost her dog the same way that we did. And I think the other thing too is just remembering to have grace with people when you hear the story, because the thing that people that have been through this carry forever that will never go away is insurmountable guilt. And it's taken a long time for me to come to a point of saying it was a horrible accident, but there's still always going to be this layer that's never going to go away. And so that's the most overwhelming part. And so when I hear other people who have had their story, I like to reach out to them. The first thing I do is I will see a story and I'll send them a message, and I will reach out and just say, I'm so sorry for your loss. I know what it feels like. We've been through it. Anything we can do to help support you, let me know. And just trying to build that community also, because your friends and your family will be there in the moment, and then they kind of go about their business. And it's not because they don't care. They've moved on. They're like, okay, we supported you. Here's the moment. You're good. We're good. It's good. But what they don't realize is that they still need to check in. They still need to check up on us, because it is hard. And to talk about the dog that we lost, because they were important, and to remember the good things. And that's hard to do at first, but as you distance yourself, the first day is the worst. And then the next day it's just a teeny bit better. And now we're moving into 2 years. And I mean, I still have moments where telling a story is really hard. And having people not ask the details, because that's the most horrendous thing for us to go through, to just know that our dog had a collar, it was horrible, it got entangled, or their tooth got stuck, and one, or they both may have passed. The other thing that happens too is when they're play biting, they'll get their jaw hooked, and the other dog will the alligator roll.
They both did it. They both did it immediately.
They're trying to get out.
They twisted, in the opposite direction, and they pulled at the same time, and it was literally in seconds.
Yeah. And then the other thing I've heard too, which along my journey here with everything, is that some people walked into the house and found their dogs in that situation. Other people have just literally been in the kitchen window. The dogs were outside, and from the time we got from the kitchen window outside, their dog had passed, and they tried to resuscitate the dog, and it just didn't happen. It literally can happen before your eyes. It's so quick and fast, and some just don't survive it. And it literally is, it's lightning fast. And that helped me a little bit to know that it's quick. The other thing we've done too, I've gone through dog first aid training. I think that's a really important thing. On our website, we have flyers people can download. They're free, about dog collar safety, about the pet suffocation, and then just having all those resources out there, because we just want to get them in people's hands.
Yeah. Do you have a safe place for people to go to on maybe some of your social media? Do you have like a closed group on Facebook or anything like that where people can go if they've lost a dog in that situation? Because it can be a really hard thing to talk about, I would have thought. So do you have somewhere where everybody can go and
talk
to each other about it?
On the RyderSafe on the Labradorable RyderSafe Foundation Facebook page, you can actually go there. There's a group that they can go to. They can even send a message and ask to be added to the group. And it is moderated very strictly.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a lot of grace, a lot of love, and a lot of support, because it is really hard. And it's anybody who's lost a dog or an animal that just is struggling. I just want people to feel supported in that space, because it's really, really hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're grieving for a dog, everybody gets the guilt part. It's a natural process, isn't it? And I cannot imagine how difficult it must be to struggle with that part of the process, because you can't really see an end to it, can you? You can't get over it, can you? You can't, unless you're Lynette Smith and you've got the RyderSafe Foundation and you're helping everybody. It's really difficult.
Well, we've been through a lot of loss in a short period of time. In a 2-year period, I lost my brother to cancer, my dad to Parkinson's, my horse to colic, 3 dogs to old age, losing Ryder, a friend. We had just bombarded one after the other. And I think the thing that I've learned the most is that it's part of life. And you have to find a space to embrace the journey and the time that you had, and try to come out of that on the other side stronger. And in Ryder's situation, I was able to make a difference and do something in regards to that. And just knowing that the first day of any loss, no matter what it is, a family member, whatever it is, that first day is hell. It is the worst. You don't think you're going to get out of it. And then the next day, it's just a teeny bit better. And with each day, it gets a little bit better. And you just have to kind of keep that faith that you're gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And keep that space in your heart open. What I've learned also is that in that moment of loss, great loss, your heart literally, you feel it break. And the one thing that happens when your heart breaks, it cracks. And as it cracks, what comes through the cracks is light. So when your heart breaks and it cracks, it just lets more love in, and it just grows bigger. And it gets put back together a little differently, but in the process, it grows bigger. And we were able to rescue a dog that needed us, and he just helped fill that space and grow it bigger. So that's just kind of my perspective on it.
I think it's very healthy, because I try to witness your grief, and I can't. I cannot even go there. I tried, I've got that picture, and it's in the store with the collars, and it goes everywhere with me. And I look at him and I think, and I just cannot go anywhere close to it. So I think that what you're doing is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And, it's awful that he's not here, but what a legacy. Something so terrible. That dog is doing so much good, and will continue to, because the more you educate people, and in your country, the more I educate people here, the more people listening today, some of them are going to stop and think about it, change their collars, or change the way they use their collars. Maybe not use a collar, and perhaps start using a harness instead, or something like that. Ryder's saving lives. He's saving lives all the time, because every dog with a collar on is a potential risk, isn't it? It's all. I mean, I look at the belt type collars. They're great. We've got really big dogs, and those big leather buckle collars are fantastic. But I'm thinking to myself, if they did get caught in them, I'm actually going to have to make that tighter before I take the thing off.
Yes.
And my dogs were wearing those collars for 20 years. Only single dogs, and we didn't have any issues, thank God. But we could have.
That actually is one of the things with buckle collars is that you do have to tighten them to get them out. And there is a company, I just posted some links on our page, and I'm going to be posting them on our website, that are dog safe collars, and your company will also be on there as well. But there is a dog collar company that designs a buckle collar.
It's great. Yes. Yeah, that's amazing, that design.
And I'm like, that's amazing.
Yep.
So yeah, even just, I'm going to be posting this online. So this is just a collar that you use when you go to the dog bath. So you put your dog on here, you click it for your dog bath. It is a quick release, because I had our dogs at the dog bath, and they use like a slip collar, and then it clips in. Yeah. And there was just a moment when I couldn't unclip it, and I got a little panicky. And I'm like, I can't undo this. I don't like it. So then I Googled and I found this. So everything that I have is quick release. And then the other thing too, people will say, okay, well, the collars, we don't do that. We wear a harness. Harnesses are great, but what can happen with a harness is that strap that goes across the breastbone of the dog, they can get their jaw underneath it, and they can get their jaw stuck. Right. And so even putting him in a kennel with something like that can be a danger. So there's not as much of an issue as frequent with the harness, but it can still happen. So, and I'm that girl, I go to the pet store here locally. I met a guy the other day who had 2 cream golden retrievers. They were beautiful. And we were talking, and they're both puppies. And I asked him, I said, I'm just curious, do your dogs play together with the collars on? I just have to ask, because I lost a dog to collar strangulation. And he said, no, actually they don't. My aunt lost a dog to that years ago. And so I learned a long time ago about collar dangers. And that's a frequent thing when even just at the local mini mart down the street from my house, I was talking to our friend that works there, and Marshall and I were chatting, and he said something, and his aunt lost a dog when he was younger. So I literally can go talk to 1 in 5 people or more.
We need to.
Sometimes. Yeah.
We need to keep talking, don't we? Now, Where
people need to share their story, though. Those that have been through this, it is so critical that they share their story, because I have so many people reach out to me, which is great, but they're not sharing their story. They need to share their story. They need to post it on Facebook, and then just walk away from it. If you don't want to deal with the comments, post it, make it public, or create a page and walk away. But the more it's out there, the more lives that are saved, because even somebody who's been through this that's not us, there's a lot of power for them to help things change and get better.
Oh, sure.
My goal is for all of this to be out there with the dog collar manufacturers and get all of them on the bus.
Yeah, and they'll only do that if they see a need for it, which is where we come in, because we have to say to them, we don't like your collars anymore, we want you to make changes to them that keep our dogs safe. Anyway, where can people find you on social?
So they can find us on social media on 2 different places. So one of them, they can go to our website, which is RyderSafe Foundation, RYDERSAFE Foundation.com. And then on there's a link to our Instagram, Facebook, all the links are on there.
Brilliant.
Yep. And they can also find us on Instagram, and it's Labradorable BFFS. And it's LABRADORABLE BFFS. And then on Facebook, they can type that same thing, and then following it is RyderSafe Foundation. And his name is spelled with a Y, RYDER. And the cool thing about his name, it meant knight, like a knight in shining armor. So I just feel like he's still out there doing his magic.
Oh, he is, for sure. Definitely. Well,
we have a wind chime in our doorway, and every now and then it does its own little thing. So it's I just kind of like to have that moment where like, yep, we know you're still here.
He is, definitely. Anyway, thank you very, very much for agreeing to come on and chat to everybody about this, because it's so important. And would you come back again later? And because I know that you're working towards charitable status, aren't you? And you've got some other things in the pipeline. So would you come back and have a chat to us in the future about the other things that you're going to be doing? Yeah,
I would love that. And one other thing really quick, for anybody who is listening that is a doggy daycare, a vet clinic, a dog park, anybody out there, I do recommend that they have industrial strength scissors and bolt cutters on hand at their facilities. If they're not going to practice the breakaway collar safety, that they at least have emergency tools on hand, and that the people that are working in those facilities are trained on dog pet CPR.
And they can go to the RyderSafe Foundation and download all the resources that they need there, so that they know what they need to do and what they don't need to do. Fantastic.
Yes. I'm so thankful for you hopping on board with this. It just makes it so much easier, because it's really hard for the collars to be shipped from the U.S. overseas because of the tariffs and the fees and everything. So kudos to you too. You're out there rocking it.
Thanks, Lynette. I'm just going to stop this now. Thank you so much. Okay, so if we have a look at a few conventional dog collars, this is a nice leather buckle collar, very nice collar, beautifully made, very sturdy, not that great in an entanglement situation, because, as you can see, it takes a long time to get it out, and to get it off rather, and you have to actually make it a little bit tighter before you remove it. Also, this is very, very strong, so you're going to need some industrial scissors to actually cut that off your dog if you're not able to release via the buckle. There's nothing wrong with this collar. It's a brilliant collar, does exactly what it's supposed to, but you've got problems in a collar entanglement situation. This is another very popular conventional collar. It's really good quality. We sell lots of these in our shop. Quick release collar. People sometimes mistake these for breakaway collars. My cat's just walked past. Sorry about that, folks. Quick release, which means, you know, it comes off a lot quicker than the buckle, which makes it that much safer. But in an entanglement situation, you have still got to be able to get to that buckle. If you can't get to that buckle, then you have to cut the webbing. You may need some industrial scissors again. So, you know, if your dog is at home alone, in an entanglement situation, as with the leather collar, you know, they're probably not going to survive the situation. This is our breakaway collar. As you can see, it has a double D-ring at the front for you to attach the leash to for walking, which overrides the breakaway buckle. It has the quick release buckle for putting on and taking off. It has the tri-glide for adjusting, and then it has the breakaway buckle in between the double D-rings. This breakaway buckle will come off under twisting and pulling pressure when your dog is entangled and trying to release itself, much in the same way as a cat collar will. So as you can see, boom, that's opened. So get dog smart. Get a breakaway collar. Just get a breakaway collar. Keep your dogs safe. Be educated. Get dog smart.